Have you ever wondered what a Draugr was? Have you ever wanted to chop off a zombie's head and shove it next to its own bum? Then this is the video for you. The problem with any study of the Draugr is the same as the study of Norse mythology. No written records of the time, and those written later are corrupted by the taint of Christianity. Of the records we have, they're written hundreds of years after the fact and mostly in Iceland rather than mainland Scandinavia. We know that they would have been part of the mainland's belief system, but we don't know much more than that. But I've never let not knowing stuff stop me before. So this video will mostly be taken from the Icelandic sagas with the knowledge that we have nothing like the complete picture, more like one corner of a jigsaw, and even then we had to cut some pieces up and glue them together to make them fit. Let's take a look at these Norse undead as a follow-up to the last video on Norse afterlife in 5 minutes or less. Starting now. Icelandic Norse were so worried about the idea of Draugr running around attacking them that they had a law about not waking up a troll. This isn't a proverb about letting sleeping dogs lie or not pissing off people on 4chan. A troll was a catch-all for all sorts of mystical creatures, but this was specifically a ban on any form of necromancy. They didn't want Bob the Butcher coming back to make meat out of them. Ironically, the Icelandic sagas only make one mention of any form of necromancy, but given that the law predates Christianity and the sagas, in their written form, came later, we can assume that Christianity decided that theirs was the only religion allowed a zombie. Of course, the Norse gods weren't quite so squeamish. Odin had been shown to raise the dead a number of times. When on the road to Hell, where Asiress gave him the knowledge of Baldur's death, the head of Mimir as an undead keychain, and a few more besides. Whilst necromancy was banned, it wasn't the most common way of getting a Draugr problem. It was much more common that they would have been formed either from a large amount of earthly emotion, usually greed, so Jeff Bezos could well be coming back to haunt us after he passes on, or by a curse. The word Draugr itself is a catch-all for all these walking dead. It's been literally translated to mean dead because people are imaginative like that, and is often called a ghost, but is more accurately a revenant, which is a posh way of saying that an undead being with a physical body, or a ghost that you could punch. I wouldn't recommend it. They can be roughly split into two camps, the Hagbui, barrow dweller, and the Aptrganga, the again walkers. The Hagbui, as the name suggests, resided in barrows, often guarding some treasure, weapons and the like, but could also be hanging around to play Call of Duty with the boys. They're not going to venture far from the barrow just in case the squad calls them for an online game, so as long as you avoided the barrows you'd be fine. Unfortunately, kings had a habit of sitting on these burial barrows to hand out laws and judgments, so they get what's coming to them if you ask me. The Aptrganga, though, could venture far and wide, and usually have nothing to do with money or Warzone. They tended to be more aggressive, not that the Hagbui weren't. Attacks on people could be their specific motive, so you better give your neighbour that drill back if you don't want him hunting you down after his death. They could also turn you into one of them, because zombies aren't scary enough, so let's go for zombie vampires. They would often drive people mad, kill them, and then the next night those people would be part of the Draugr's little warband. If you're thinking of zombies, well, these aren't your shambling, slow-moving, brain-dead type zombies. These were zombies with powers and brains, unlike the Skyrim version. The sort of powers that would make a Dragonborn blush. They grew in size and strength, reaching the size of an ox. They could use weapons, but also seemed to have developed claws for those situations when a sword or axe just wouldn't cut it. They had shapeshifting abilities. Shifting into bulls and cats was particularly common, could control the weather, and far more. Some were even able to take possession of other bodies if theirs was defeated, including animals. Oh, and they could curse you if you defeated them, which seems remarkably unsporting of them. Which means, theoretically, we could have had England being invaded by a giant shapeshifting intelligent magic zombie vampire Viking army able to control the weather, drive you insane, and even if you defeated one, they would curse you. Oh, how history would have been different. All is not lost, though. They could be defeated. Just about. In a very difficult way that would only really be feasible in a computer game or an Andy McNab novel. Firstly, you had to be a hero. Not just any commonoid could do it. These sagas were written to glorify and legitimise the nobles of Iceland, so it wouldn't do to let any old farmer defeat them. The common folks were just there as Draugr fodder. Then, you had some options. Since the Norse were rather distrustful of magic, you're not going to get any spells, though you could prevent Draugr from getting out with some cleverly placed runestones at the burial mounds. Your options instead were to chop off its head. This was sometimes, but not always, effective. If this fails, you need to take its head and place it by the Draugr's backside, having him face his own bum. Never has the threat to shove your head up your own arse been quite so literal. Something to do with the bum being the second face of the demonic, but that smells a little bit too like Christianity adding in justifications after the fact. You could burn it with fire. Another good standby, but not always as 100% as you think it would be. Be careful. If the ashes get onto another person or creature, then you'll have to fight again. You could take the body far from its resting place. There's no mention if this defeats them or if it makes them someone else's problem, but you know what they say about a problem being shared being someone else's problem. I think that's how the saying goes. Doing these things one-on-one with a Draugr may be viable, but doing it against an army of invading super zombie vampires would be a bit more difficult, so let's be glad that there were laws against necromancy or we'd all have been in big trouble. Please like if you like, subscribe if you haven't, and check out the last video on Norse Afterlife if you haven't seen it yet. It features Sebastian the Crab, which is perfectly logical. There are links in the description for sources I used for this video, as I like to pretend I'm a real historian and not just a sarcastic Welshman avoiding doing the hoovering. Thanks for watching.